Director of Marketing, Communications, and Global Media Relations for Visit San Jose, and your host for this session, The Aligned Mindset, How High-Achieving Women Navigate Workplace Challenges with Dr. Sohee Jung. It's befitting to have this important conversation here in San Jose, where high-achieving women have energized the entrepreneurial spirit in Silicon Valley. We have great examples of leaders in our history, such as Sarah Winchester, the Winchester Mystery House, highly recommend visiting if you have time, or San Jose Mayor Janet Gray Hayes, which upon her election in 1975, became America's first woman mayor of a major city. And fast forward to today, where women leaders are founding companies, leading organizations, and inventing life-changing technology. Women in San Jose and Silicon Valley have persevered in an area traditionally framed by the male-dominated tech industry. Embracing the women supporting women philosophy, leaders and organizations in San Jose continue to pave the way for future generations of world leaders. It's my honor to introduce Dr. Sohee Jung, an accomplished leadership coach and organizational psychologist dedicated to empowering leaders and fostering workplace transformation. With a focus on emotional intelligence and resilience, she helps organizations navigate change, build thriving cultures, and unlock their full potential. Today, Dr. Jung will address the pressing professional anxieties that often disrupt their peace of mind and share innovative strategies for developing a mindset that aligns with their career goals and aspirations. And I do have to add a side note, that she was an attendee 2 years ago at the California Women's Conference, and she's on stage today. So we're all very excited for her. Okay, back to the script. We have planned time for questions after her presentation, and microphones are set up along the aisles for audience Q&A. Please give a warm welcome to Dr. Sohee Jung.
True, everyone. And so by the way, let me start by saying for those of you that were turned away the first time and actually made it back to this session, thank you. You officially have your steps today. Thank you for persevering and coming back. It is so great to be here with all of you, and Francis is not wrong. 3 years ago, in fact, I was an attendee and so excited and eager to learn with, at that time, the keynote presenter was Brene Brown. I love me some Brene Brown, right? Anywhere she goes and I can get to, I will watch her. So I came 2 years in a row, and then to be here on stage for my book, I gotta tell you, pinch me. Hello, somebody. So I want to drop us into this conversation about the aligned mindset by sharing with you 3 distinct stories. And the reason why I want to share these stories with you is that every single one of you in this room will resonate and relate to them. And guess what? Having coached over 20 plus years and working with really successful and highly accomplished women that I have the honor of coaching, I have some stories to share. So let me start with the first one, in which it's the story of a young professional, not unlike many of you in this room, and she was working on her degree, working on her Ph.D., and she landed this really coveted role. Super excited that she gets to work in the premier aeronautics robotics industry down in LA. Anybody from LA know what that could be? You don't have to say it. Companies will remain anonymous. So needless to say, she was super excited to be able to get actual experience in the field of her degree. They would allow her to go into different aspects of HR, be in training, learn about compensation, navigate employee relations, do all of the different facets of this wonderful field. And so she's in and enjoying and learning and progressing through her degree, and wouldn't you know it, it's like 3 years have gone by. And she was able to really form such a strong relationship with her boss, which I think could be really rare, to see your boss as both a mentor and somebody that you actually really enjoy as a human. Really good combination. And so one day as she goes to work, she was really surprised that there was a meeting called for the entire team. So as you can imagine, she was like, what is this about? I had no notice. And as you know, these things happen and you're like, okay, should I be nervous? I don't know what's happening here. So she goes into the conference room and sees all of her entire team with her manager. And her manager shares that, guess what, team? I have been moved into another role and you're gonna get a new manager. And he's gonna start ASAP. And in the next few weeks, he's going to spend time getting to know all of you, getting to know the department, blah-de-blah-de-blah. It didn't matter. For her, she was like, wait a second, what? I'm gonna be losing my manager that I've worked so long with and built such a good rapport with? And by the way, this is like my first job and I don't even understand what's happening right now. Did I miss something? Did I miss the memo? Why is this just being dropped on my lap? How many of you have been in meetings like this? Show of hands. Okay, I'm not alone. They've been sharing the story. Okay, good. So she, in the days that followed, talked to her peers, her colleagues, her teammates by the water cooler just to level set, like, hey, how are you feeling about this guy? Do we know much about him? Is he a good leader? And all of these things that she was trying to navigate because she was nervous. She was like, I've never gone through this before. I have a new leader, and what does that mean? Am I going to be moved as well? So as the weeks and months went on, she settled into having a new leader. And then was surprised when one day she came to work again, and there was another meeting set with her, this time with her manager, her new manager. And she's like, okay, well, you know what? This is an opportunity for me to share what I've been working on. I'm nervous because I haven't had much face time with him, but it allows me to tell him all the things I want to learn more about, what wins I've had, the projects I'm taking on, where I want to grow and develop. And so she was, excited-ish, also a little nervous. And so as she enters into the conference room, wouldn't you know it, there were two other people there with her. And as he starts to speak, he says, we've had to make some tough decisions, and we're letting you go. She was like, wait, what? Nothing after that landed on her ears. It was just an amalgamation of, what did he just say? But I overachieve. I'm a perfectionist. I'm getting my Ph.D. here. I perform. In her head, it was this narrative of like, what did I do? Did I miss something? And ultimately, to a place where she felt so ashamed. As she walked out of the room, she felt as though she did something wrong. And so as she made the call to her husband to tell him what happened, all she could think about was like, this is my fault. And in the months and weeks that ensued, she spiraled into this negative thinking and forecasting of, I'm never going to get another job. And it didn't matter that her teammates, her former teammates, and her friends and her peers said to her, this stuff happens. It's not your fault. It didn't matter. Because for her, she didn't do something enough. She felt ashamed. And she was so stuck in those feelings and that way of thinking that she was stuck. Now, who can relate with that? Those feelings. Feeling stuck and ashamed. Yeah. The second story I want to share with you is of a mid-career professional. And she was really excited to land a new job because guess what? In her current role, she was commuting 2 hours one way, which meant she was spending time 4 hours on the road, really just sucking the life out of her. She was like, you know what? I really can't do this commute anymore. I'm not interested in moving down south for this job. I want to find a new role. So as she lands this new role, she's super excited because it's one that allows her to use her skills that she thinks she's really good at. Writing communications, helping the team manage culture. Like, that's literally the title, culture management. How fun. She gets to put on events and help employees feel engaged. She's like, this is my jam. I'm so excited. I can't wait to contribute and just make an impact. Until her enthusiasm tanked. Because experience after experience, as she wrote communications to her boss, that came back bloodied, not good, rewrite, redo. Every project she pitched an idea for, everything that she put out there was not good enough. She felt like she was being micromanaged and told what to do rather than contributing her own thoughts and her experience that she was really eager to do. So week after week, project after project, she literally felt like it was Devil Wears Prada on steroids, where the manager really had it in for her. Nothing she did felt like it was good enough. Ever been there? Raise your hands, people, and look around the room. It's a collective experience, unfortunately. And so, in parallel, she was lucky enough to have developed a relationship with her manager's peer, and he served as a mentor for her. She actually really trusted him. So one day, he checked in with her, as he does from time to time, and he said, hey, how you doing? You don't seem okay. Are you okay? And she's like, I'm not. The truth is, and I know you're her peer, so this might be awkward, but she's micromanaging me. Everything I turn in comes back not good enough, rewritten. Every idea I pitch is not taken. I don't know what I'm doing here. What's the point? And so he says to her, have you given her that feedback? And she's like, well, I've tried. It's just, how do you even have that conversation? I feel like if I were to do that, she would probably fire me. And if I did, and she didn't fire me, she'd probably make my life even more miserable afterwards and just drag it on. So she felt like she was in a situation that was no win. It was too hard. And in her mind, she said, it's too hard, too awkward. It's no win for me. She's either going to make it really more difficult, or I'm going to get fired and lose this job that I really thought had so much potential. Right? So, in the first story, it's about this narrative about it's my fault. And in this one, it's really about it's too hard. It's too hard to have these challenging conversations. I don't even know what to say or what the words would be. And what's the point? The last story I want to share with you is of a more seasoned professional, a woman that is well into her career. And she was called back by a previous company that she was with. And to her delight, they're like, you know what? We actually really want you to come back and lead the team. We need somebody to turn the team around. You know the people, you know the culture, you'd ramp up really fast, you'd be able to just run with it. And I need a number two that can really help me steer this team in the right way. And so she was like, hey, that sounds pretty cool. I know the company, I know the people, they were my peers. I think I could do this. So she says yes. And as the weeks get closer to her starting her role, wouldn't you know it? She gets mired in oh shit, I actually haven't led a team this global before. And oh, by the way, it's with people that used to be my peers and they used to be my friends. What? They're gonna see right through me. They're gonna know I don't know how to lead. They're gonna judge me. What are they gonna think? I've never taken a formal leadership course. I haven't been coached before. I don't know what I'm doing. And so in the weeks that ensued, all that was amplified was her lack in what she wouldn't be able to do and how the team would judge her. Whoa, pretty negative, right? It was about this, I don't have the skills, I'm not ready. They're gonna see right through me. So let me ask you this. What is the tie-through in all of these stories? This is the interactive part. What's the tie-through?
The stories we tell ourselves.
Self-doubt. Okay, I heard other things back there.
Stories we tell ourselves.
The stories we tell ourselves. Who said that? Yes, absolutely. And back there?
Self-critique.
Self-critique. Absolutely. Anyone else want to offer?
Imposter syndrome.
Imposter syndrome. Not speaking up for yourself. And last, fear of conflict. All of those are true. And the tie-through is the story that she made up, each of these women made up, about the situation. The mindset stuff, right? You want to know what the plot twist is? That woman is me. Listen, I coach from lived experience, and believe me when I tell you, I have experienced, that's my story. In my early career, I was laid off, and I felt that I was never going to get another job. And what I told myself is, I'm so ashamed. I've disappointed people. I've let my husband down. He couldn't care less. We're divorced, by the way. I don't think that's not why we're divorced. However, at that time, he wasn't judging me. I was judging me. And when I went to work for that large financial services company, yes, it was miserable. Yes, I felt like I was being micromanaged. I didn't know how to tell her. I was too afraid. And when my company, at a large entertainment company, called me back, all I could think about was they're going to judge me. Because they used to be my peers, and this is like nuanced stuff, and like they know how I used to gossip, and they know like kind of the things that I used to, maybe skip out on. And so I felt like they would see right through me. That's how I was framing each situation. And what I want to illuminate for you is that it's the stories that I made up, and it's the stories that each of you make up every day, moment by moment. And maybe even as you entered this room, and maybe even as you thought about, wow, it's too scary to network, I don't want to do that. I'm just going to sit all the way in the back, I'm not going to participate. The thoughts, if you are unaware of it, directly correlates with how you show up. That's based on research. And my 25 plus years of coaching highly successful women and my lived experience. Okay? So we need to start there. We need to talk about what is mindset, and I'm sure you have heard it in the zeitgeist. This word is everywhere. And a nod to Carol Dweck, who talks about growth mindset and fixed mindset, a pioneer in this space. Okay? And what I want to share with you today that you're going to want to take lots of notes around is the 6 unhelpful mindsets that most of us live in that we're not aware of. And before we get there, we need to define mindset. So, what is your definition of mindset? If you had a definition, what would it be?
Your personal point of view.
Your personal point of view. Anyone else?
An inner voice forming a framework.
An inner voice forming a framework. One more.
The filter that you put on situations.
Yes, it's the she said filters that you put on situations you come across. All of those are variations of mindset, and it is true. Let me give you the formal definition. Mindset is how you frame and perceive a situation, coupled with how you react. Do you get that? It's not just one piece of the puzzle. It's not just how you perceive a situation. It's then the action you do or don't take based on that framing. That's the power. That's the one-to-one correlation. Let's take coming into this room, for example. If you're like, oh man, this topic's so interesting, I'm just going to maybe find myself in the back. Oh, I have questions, but I don't want to say it. My question's going to be judged. No one else has the same question. This question is dumb. That line of thinking directly diminishes how you participate and robs you of an experience, your own development. You follow? Yeah. So then, We've defined mindset. So what's an aligned mindset? Anyone want to take a guess? Aligned with the situation. Okay.
Aligned to core values?
Aligned to core values, I like that. It's an expansion of the definition. Yeah, one more.
I was gonna say like when you're aligned in your mind and your action.
Yes! Give her a box of cookies. I don't know, last time we had Girl Scouts in here, but I don't think we have anymore. So yes, you get the star. It is when you're, say it again.
When your mind is aligned with your action.
Yes! Is when the framing supports you in moving forward in the way that you want to. Okay? So the formal definition is this. An aligned mindset is one in which your thoughts are supporting how you show up and participate. Your thoughts shape how you show up and participate, or it diminishes you if you're not aware of it. Is that clear? Yeah. So then, some of you may be asking, okay, well, so what are these unhelpful mindsets? Well, here's what my years of research has shown. In writing the book, The Aligned Mindset, I did 2 years of research, and I'll research those women that allowed me to, that I coach, in really looking and getting under the hood of how do they navigate challenges? What is that thing that allows them to move forward and be successful in however they define it? And it absolutely jumped out at me. It is mindset. So let's first cover what's the 6 unhelpful ones, and you're going to want to take notes, because I promise you, you're going to be like, oh my God, that's me. Maybe all of them, hopefully not. But you will definitely resonate with many of these mindsets. Starting with the first one. The not good enough yet mindset. Ooh. This mindset is one in which it's telling you, you know what? I need one. I'm a Pilates instructor. I need to do more. I think I need another degree. I need more validation. I need to take more XYZ before I feel ready. Except it's never going to be ready. It's that joke or that mind game you played with yourself. It's like, you know what, just one more speaking class before I actually speak. Now, let's be clear, there is a healthy balance of having experience, but what this amplifies is an excuse and a fear of moving forward with things that you're passionate about. You're just making up more excuses. And only you know when you're doing that. The second mindset, this one's big, and there's tie-throughs with all of them. So it's not like distinct separate ones. They all play together. And fear is really the engine that drives all of these mindsets. It's big. I can't do this. I'm not going to come up on this stage. It's too scary. How dare I write a book? Oh no, not me. I'm nervous. I'm scared. I'm not going to take that risk. I'm too vulnerable. I'm going to fail. The fear mindset, I know, has been something that each and every one of you has experienced in this room. We're human beings. It will come up. The third mindset, play nice. You know what? Okay, fine, I'll get everyone in this conference with water. They asked me to. I don't want to make any waves. Oh my God, okay, my boss asked me to take notes again. Okay, I'll take notes. I don't want to upset anyone. I don't want to make waves, cause conflict. I'll just do it. Anyone resonate with that? Squirming in their seats maybe because you do those things? Not judging here. This is not a judgment slide. That is the mindset. Playing nice and really eroding trust with yourself in the process. The next mindset, overachiever. I bet you, a lot of you are in this mindset. Next. What's next? Okay, I went to a conference. I'm going to go to another one. I'm going to get another experience, another project. There's always something else to achieve, and in this mindset, it is so hard to stay put and say, wow, my team and I did a really good job. Kudos. We put together a really great deck. Or we won that sales client. Or that vendor said really good things about us. It's really hard to take that in, and you don't make the room because you're on to the next thing, achieving, achieving, achieving. The fifth mindset, I should. Oof, I should. I should put that party on because my best friend's birthday is coming up, and I should go to the soccer game because my kid's playing. I have 3 kids, by the way, so like I'm mired in the should often. I should also cook really good dinners, and I should volunteer and raise my hand for that project because I also want to be, a team player. There's a lot of shoulds that drive your action, but it ends up making you feel guilty. You're driven by guilt. Make sense? Yeah. And the last but not least is perfectionist. Ooh, I gotta get it just right. I'm gonna reread this project plan. I'm gonna rewrite this email because it has to be perfect, and I'm gonna work 60, 70 hours to get it just right. And guess what? Only you know in your head what that just right looks like. 80% is not good enough for you. It's full throttle all the time, which leads you to overwork, which leads to burnout. That's perfectionism. Anybody in these mindsets? Yeah? Look around. Okay. Own it. Put your hands up. Yes, thank you. Amazing. Yeah. So, if these are the 6 unhealthy mindsets that we're in, you're probably naturally asking yourself, so then what do I do? This isn't all gloom and doom, I promise. There is a way through. And I want to share with you additional research that shows space in my, what is my brain and the story occupying in my head right now? What is it saying? Because they are locked into knowing what it's telling them, and then they're reframing it in a way that allows them to move forward in the way that they want to, more confidently, more participative, more bold. Okay? And they do it over and over again. What I share all the time is like, look, we like to, in the world of Instagram and all this memes and all the things, we like to make it all easy and hack. The truth is, I'm going to tell you right here, right now, and I'm doing you all a service, there's no hack. You have to do the work. If you want to participate and build core confidence, which all of these women do, you have to work with your mindset. There are 3 because I believe in simplicity and the power of really making it distinct and simple, yet it's really hard in practice. I'm not going to kid you. Step number 1, create awareness. Get insanely curious about your mindset. How many times have you taken a step back to go, whoa, how am I framing the situation right now? How am I creating the narrative? What's the story I'm crafting around this interaction, or what my boss has just told me, or about being laid off? Or fill in the blank. Or if you're judging somebody else, why is that? What story are you making up about that other person in front of you? What mindset is that? So it starts from a place of getting insanely curious about your mindset that builds emotional awareness. And then guess what? You get to reframe the inner narrative to one that is both compassionate and supportive of you moving forward. You get that stuff? Because then the last one requires that you actually take action. You don't just get to sit there and go, okay, dust myself off, I'm going to reframe it, and you can't just sit there. At some point, you do have to take a micro-action forward to actually build experience and resilience and build that, what I call atrophied muscle. Okay, it's like somebody that walks out of the gym, they're just top heavy and there's no, like, their calves are not developed at all. We're gonna balance that thing out. You have to take action, okay? So, if you have these 3 steps, you've jotted it down, I'm gonna put this in practice for all of you. So we're gonna go back, rewind, go back to the first story I shared with you, which is all about, oh crap, I'm never gonna get another job. They're just gonna know I failed. And so, based on the steps that we went through, how would you jump to step number 2, which is reframing the situation to one that's more supportive? Yes?
I get a paid vacation.
Ooh! Yes! That could be a way to boost yourself up and be like, you know what? At least I get a paid vacation. Yes?
They don't deserve me.
I love that! They don't deserve me. I did them a service. Okay, I like that. It's kind of like an affirmation and a way to, again, boost the self-esteem when it's really tanked. Let's be real. Back there.
Blessing in disguise.
A blessing in disguise. To be able to see that there's a positive that will come from this, and then you.
If I wasn't good enough, I wouldn't have landed this job.
I love that. She said, you know what? I got this job. I was good enough to get this job, which then leads me to think, I can get another job. Yes. And then you.
It gives me the opportunity to, when I want to be next, my space and our many. You know, when you're looking for another job, it's hard to look for another job. When you have a job, it's an opportunity to really explore.
Oh my gosh, can you stand up and just, that was beautiful reframing. Yes, give her a clap and I'll repeat what she said. If you can say it out loud, do it.
So for me, it's an opportunity and blessing to be able to take a step back and truly think about what I want in my next job and what is going to fulfill me without having to do it while
Yes, beautiful. Do you know why? That is both compassionate and it's a powerful reframe. It's to say, hey, it's giving me time to now find something that I really want to do. What an opportunity. I love that reframe. And the reality is, you might have to say it like a million times to really stand in that belief, and that's okay, that's the work. So yes, that's the reframing I suggest to make yourself have an aligned mindset, which is to say, you know what, it's a restructure, that's what he said, it's true. I can meet proactively next time with my manager, build a better relationship, you know what, now I'm really freed up to go after what I want. Boom. And that's an aligned mindset, because from there, you can take an aligned action. Ooh, we're on a roll. Okay, story 2. Oh, not yet. The one where it's like, I can't talk to my manager, this is too awkward and too hard. What do I say? How would you reframe that?
This is an opportunity to learn.
It's an opportunity to learn. I love that. Growth mindset. Carol Dwight will be proud of you. Yes?
I'd rather be fired for speaking my mind than keeping my cup.
I love that. That's a way of just affirming that you're acting out of integrity. Yes, great. Yes.
Give opportunity to make my manager know better as well. And teach the manager. Maybe it's just, or the person was not aware.
Yes. There's actually a possibility that she's not aware of what she's doing. Absolutely, yes.
Well, then nothing will change if something changes, right? So it's this attack in the mindset of like, well, nothing will change anyway. Well, if you don't do anything, nothing is definitely going to change.
That's right.
So at least you have maybe a 50-50 chance or a 10% chance. But if you do nothing, you absolutely know nothing.
That's right. If you do nothing, it's going to be Groundhog Day, day after day of misery, for sure. Yes, absolutely. Was there another one? Yeah, back there.
Say
Awesome.
anything to anybody, it's just the delivery. So make sure the delivery is support and love. And yeah, just, you can say anything to anyone, it's just the delivery, how you deliver it.
I love it. You can say anything to anyone, it's in the delivery. It's like an affirmation. I love that. That makes me feel like I actually can really give feedback. Yeah. Somebody said in the last session, feedback's a gift. And sometimes, I'm like, really? It took me a while to be like, is that a gift too? But when you can really receive it in that way and it's all in the tone and delivery. Absolutely. So here's how I would suggest reframing that to get more aligned, which is to say, you know what? I'm going to advocate for myself. I'm respecting myself by saying something, and I know I can learn and have this conversation. And again, if nothing changes, at least you've learned a skill and are stepping into advocating. Last but not least, that, oh my God, they're going to see right through me. I mean, this was real. I was like, I'm nervous to lead this team that's big, and they know me, and P&L and all the stuff. And so how would you reframe this? Yeah, all the way back there.
I would say gratitude, like start by saying thank you for entrusting me with such a big project.
Yes, and tell me how, stand up and tell me how the gratitude would help you get more aligned.
I think it's an opportunity for more conversation, right? I think when you say thank you first, the other person feels good and like they would make, I don't know, for me it opened up a space for more like collaboration. And more support if needed. But yes, like sort of gratitude.
I love that. Gratitude allows you to open up the aperture about what's possible, and it invites people into conversations, what you're saying. Okay, beautiful. Yes, one last one, back there.
I'm a recovering perfectionist.
Ooh, she's like, I'm recovering. Me too, I see you.
And I think vulnerability can also be key here. And it's okay to say, I don't know everything, but I'm here to learn, and I'm here to learn from all of you. And together we can make a difference.
That is so beautiful. She's like, let's be a little vulnerable that, hey, yes! That resonated. I love it. I wish you were my coach back then. So yeah, it's showing a little vulnerability.
What she said, please, we couldn't hear very well.
Yes, own it. Stand up and say it louder. She's like gonna go to the mic. I love it. Yes. Is the mic working? Work with me. Work with me.
All right, thank you so much. So my name is Hannah, and I'm a senior technical program manager at Google. What I mentioned was I'm a recovering perfectionist, and I actually was in a similar situation where I took on a new role of becoming a manager, and I knew I did not have all the answers because I was a manager for the first time, and just using a little bit of vulnerability and sharing with your team that you don't know everything, you're not going to have all the answers, but you're willing to find out and work together, learn from everybody else, and as a team you can make a difference.
I love that. Thank you so much, because it's like exactly the reframe. Yes. It's like you saw my soul. And the reframe I would offer is very similar to yours, which is, you know what, I was chosen for a reason. I believe that I can do this one step at a time. I'll take my time to listen and share my goals, start there, and then learn and keep going. Rather than feeling like I have to be a perfect manager, whatever that looked like in my mind from the get-go. Thank you very much for that. So you see, we've practiced how to reframe, and my hope for all of you, somebody said hope's not a strategy. The strategy is here. My goal for each and every one of you is that you will walk out practicing this. Okay? So, if you think about the 6 unhelpful mindsets we've covered, so then the question you might have for yourself is, then what's the mindset to be in? An aligned mindset! Yes. And I'm going to offer 2 other mindsets, which is the owner's mindset and a responsible mindset. How would you define that? What does it mean to be an owner's mindset and a responsible mindset? Yes?
I am responsible for my choices, and I have a choice to do something, because rather than feeling forced to do something, feeling that you have a choice to do something, as if you are an owner of something, it puts you more in control.
Yes, I love that. The reason that I put both of these up there is that they play on each other. Somebody in the previous session was like, they seem the same-ish. Yes. You own that you are in control of your thoughts, and then you're responsible for the actions that you take. You get? Yes. So these 2 are coupled together for a reason. That if there's a mindset that you want to land into and like recenter yourself around to get aligned, is to say, I'm responsible, I'm going to take an action, but let me first own what the story that's going on for me right now. All right? You ultimately are in control. So how's this feeling for everyone? Doable? Understandable? Give me the feedback gift. Okay, good, awesome. What I want to offer you next is some tools on working through fear, because I know that that looms loud for so many of us. And it does for me too, from time to time. And so here's how you befriend fear, which is false events appearing real. Because our minds are so powerful, sometimes they just go against us. And it's when we feel that we're at risk or that things are gonna go awry that just boop, boop, sounds the alarm. So here's the thing. You gotta notice it. Similar to getting aligned mindset, it starts from a place of noticing and awareness. Everything starts from there. Okay? So not surprising. And the other concept I want to offer to you is around using your body. Our body, studies have shown, registers fear before it registers in our brain. Our brains evolved through the years, but our bodies are more wiser. And it can register and might feel like constricted, tight, sweaty, butterflies. Your body will signal to you when something's awry. So learn to tap into that, because that will be a clue to, uh-oh, I'm feeling some kind of anxiety or fear here. Then, you gotta decouple yourself from it, like a movie. I come from LA, so I'm like, decouple, watch it like a movie. So, what are you afraid of? Play it out in your mind as though it's, something that you're watching. And then, you get to actively refocus it. You see the tips underneath. I'm not going to read them to you, but there are so many studies that show that breathing allows you to recenter. In fact, because I'm a neuroscience geek, what it shows is that the milliseconds it takes for you to do a deep breath allows you to get out of amygdala trigger. Who's heard of amygdala hijack? Yes, it's when we're like so reactive and triggered and angry that when we do a deep breath, it allows us to access our frontal part of the brain, which is the more, I'll say, the newer part of our brain that allows us to do more strategic decisions, okay? Breathing. This is why everyone in the world, like the yoga land and meditation, is always emphasizing the breath, because it allows us to refocus. The other part of this studies show Beethoven's 7th Symphony, the second movement, it's very, very specific, helps us recenter. And I would just say try out classical music in general. You don't have to go deep diving to find Beethoven's 7th Symphony. Spotify's going to break down because everyone's trying to find it. And then last but not least, there's research from Ann Cuddy who talked about the superpose. So using your body to feel a level of confidence before you go into a situation that feels big and anxiety-provoking. So going into the bathroom and doing the super person pose, or sitting up straight and tall and taking up space. So that's what her research has shown. So there are a lot of different ways that you can befriend and work through fear. The point is, find what works for you so that you can recenter, get realigned, and move forward intentionally. Okay? So, more tips? Should I give you more tips? Yes. Yes, please. I have one more that I want to offer to you, which is around helping you get aligned, of course, not surprising. And the first one being, pull in your tribe of advocates. This is so important and something that I wish that I had leaned into early on in my career. Sure, I had that one mentor who was like, you need to talk to your boss. But be intentional about curating your board of advocates, and those are people that offer different and distinct experiences. So somebody that could really be your champion. Somebody that can be like, hey, I've been there before, let me give you some advice. Somebody that you can vent to, somebody that just champions you. You need a tribe because not everyone will be able to provide what you need. Just like friendships. So take the time to curate relationships, look around you in your organization, outside of your organization, to pull those people in that you need, that will bolster you during times of distress. Very important. Second, set yourself up for success. Work with yourself. Don't go against yourself. Because I've done this for years, and so I've tapped into, okay, what do I need to actually get aligned as quickly as possible. For me, that looks like meditation. It works. And my father was a former Buddhist monk, so that's kind of just a natural part of how I like to center myself, so I meditate. But you see the list, find what works for you. And get yourself a coach, people, to help you do the work. And the reason why I say that is somebody outside of your day-to-day is able to illuminate for you the gaps, the flat sides that you may not be registering or cluing into. So if you have that within your organization, or you want to seek somebody out that can be a coach and a partner for you, absolutely do that. I wish I had clued into that earlier in my career, okay? So lots of tips for you to noodle on and for you to try out. The point is, try them out. Don't sit and ruminate on it, take action, all right? Okay, so what are you curious about? I've shared with you frameworks, stories, tips. Ask me a question. It is that time. Yes? Back there.
Did you end up talking to your boss?
Did I ever talk to her?
Yeah.
So I went above her to her boss's boss. I took even a bigger risk to say this is my experience. I ended up getting promoted, so it worked in my favor. Thank you for asking. And you get a book, a signed book for asking questions. Thank you so much for those of you that are leaving. Please connect with me, be careful, find me. Let's have the continued conversation. And for those that are here, yes, question.
So how do you always make yourself stand out with what are the qualities that you have as compared to some of the male colleagues who are like often they're like, you know, they are able to take more time to work, they're having like taking more time making their work, showing that how much they can do, but in the limited time what are you able to do, how are you able to show that with confidence versus always comparing to what they do?
Oh, so is your question more of a comparison? Can you go to the mic and just say it again, repeat it for everyone in the room? Your question is so important.
We always have certain things that we have positive qualities, right?
Yeah.
Which we bring to work, but we always have this other main colleagues
who have much more time, and they always prove that they can take up a challenge and they are able to give more time.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you deal with this kind of situation where you can also say that, hey, I could tackle this in a little bit different way using the skills that I have. So you always have this thing where like you have to juggle with your family, kids, and other things, but you are still able to give the best version of yourself. But you always have this competition with the male colleagues where like, you know, they are able to put in double the effort or like something, they are able to give more time.
Yeah, so it's interesting. I literally was having the same conversation where I felt like I was saying my male colleagues in this space can do more. For example, churn out more books, right? I'm going to work on my third one, but they might be on their 10th. It's similar to what you're asking. The reality is you have to make peace with your situation. And when you compare, you're looking not apples to apples. Why would you do that to yourself? It's like saying, hey, I'm an apple over here and I'm going to compare myself to some grapes. That is not working with yourself. So get real about why you're comparing, and is that something that you want? Then how do you work it for yourself that you can do more? So I would just say comparing is not a good strategy for your own kind of giving yourself your accolades and being realistic about what you can do. So start from there.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, let's go over there.
Hi.
Hi.
So I have had with a colleague, a peer, where there was a problem, and I did talk to that person about it, and it was highly successful.
Yeah.
And I framed it in a very, very good way. Then, and I actually nominated her for an award for it, for us getting through this quickly. Things continued to happen, it wasn't good. I tried to raise it again and have a conversation, and it did not go well at all. So had conversations with my boss about it, and finally after a few examples when things didn't change, I actually provided feedback in an email and sent it to her boss, to my boss, and said it's okay to give it to that person. What this is all leading to is going to be a face-to-face team meeting, so not just the two of us, but a face-to-face team meeting where a big part of the discussion is going to be on ways of working, alignment, goals, challenges. And so going into that meeting now, I've been bold a lot and I've been beat up a lot for speaking up. What would you suggest for me and how I go into this meeting?
I would suggest, without knowing all the conversations that were had, is all you can do is lead with your intention. Does that make sense? Is to say, look, you know, I ultimately really just want us to be successful work colleagues and to be a great team. That's my intention. And go from there. Go from there.
Great, thank you.
Yeah. You gotta go to the mic, woman. Okay, question.
How to not following the mindset of when you are trying something very hard, but you're receiving a lot of no's, but not much feedback. Example, I'm trying to come back for conversation marketing, the organization that I am, and it's just not working. So how to not think, I need another degree, I need to do that.
Yeah, so rather than jumping, what I would suggest is ask for specific feedback. So when you get the no, say, I'd love to know more about why. I'm not going to judge it. I'm not going to take it personally. I'm really genuinely interested in learning. Tell me more. Get curious, insanely curious about them. Say, tell me more, and then go from there. Yeah.
Hi. I'm going to, first of all, thank you. It was a really great talk. My name is Ruchi. I had a question. I'm kind of taking a step back from the direct content here. You mentioned some stories from your journey.
Yeah.
And then you also mentioned that you were an attendee at the conference 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah.
So I'm curious if you are able to share about your journey from being an attendee to getting to be a speaker and maybe the mindset or the framework that you had to get to here.
Yes. So the reason why I talk about the things I do is that I live it every day, and I believe that it is what makes one resilient and successful through research and through my own lived experience. So to answer your question, when I attended, I was already out on my own as an entrepreneur, so I made that leap 8 years ago. That was a big risk. I left a corner office, a respected team, all the things that on the resume says you've made it, you're successful, we validate you. What that took was a lot of inner work to be like, that's not aligned for me values-wise. I want to have my own firm and work as a coach. So in that journey, I followed my curiosity. The reason why I say mindset and curiosity is so powerful is that it allows you to open up what's possible. And when you're in the space of opening up what's possible, then you see stuff that interests you. Follow that. The writing didn't come until I was like, oh, somebody, literally a former colleague was like, you should write about that. My first book was all about mom's experience. I'm like, oh yeah, I know about that. I'm interested. That led to a book. That led to a second book. That led to naturally people calling on me to speak. Wasn't the intention. It's what I followed that was interesting in the moment. Okay?
Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, go to the mic.
I can skip.
Oh, one, sorry, here.
I have a question for you.
I need somebody to facilitate this process.
I have a question for you about creating awareness, which really resonated with me. Before we can move on to the reframing and taking action part. I think that that is the hardest step of this whole thing. And as I mentioned earlier, as a recovering perfectionist, I catch myself spending, for instance, too much time on that email or the doc or the presentation, and I take a step back. And I'm able to say, am I shooting for perfection here? Or is this good enough as is? What about all of the other 5 areas, and what are some of the tips that you may have to share with us to kind of recognize that you're in one of the other 5 areas?
Yeah, you know, that would be another talk, dive deep. It really is about like, okay, noticing what it's saying. Is your mindset saying, the phrases that I put up there for each one, which is in the book, by the way, there's a whole like 2 pages on what to look for. If it's ruled by a talk of like, I should, you know you're probably operating out of the should mindset. So it's watching those things that pop up consistently in your mind that gives you clues into what mindset you're operating on. Yeah, and kudos on working through perfectionism. That's a tough one, yes.
Hi, Rachel Hunt.
Hi.
You talk a lot about like individuals, right? Our own mindset.
Mm-hmm.
But what happens about navigating through cultural mindsets? How do you then sort of navigate through the different complexities along with just many organizations changing leaderships, and they have their own mindset and how they build out that culture, because then you have misalignment in values. We have misalignment. And I can do all the things for my own mindset, but how do you then sort of integrate into a situation where it becomes more of a cultural mindset that you need to navigate through?
Well, if it doesn't align with their values, get out of there.
Yeah, but there's so many impact, like you can add value to that,
Yeah,
right? It's easy to say.
It is, I'm being,
And I mean, and an example of this, you know, like, you love what you do.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then there's technology like AI that we're moving towards.
Yeah.
So there's a whole culture that's being changed, and you want to be part of it. But how do you navigate? It's not about giving up, but how do you then become part of that and to help them change that mindset? You want to be able to help the mindset of its leaders,
yes,
right?
I love that. It's a big question, and I was sort of being curt about that. What happened for me is that when my values were not aligned with the company, I made the decision to move to somewhere else that I felt more aligned with. That you always have control over, okay? So I'll start there. When the red flag that came up for me is when you said, I want to change their mindset. You can't change their mindset. The only thing, I'm going to tell you the hard truth, the only thing you can do is change your mindset, and you lead from that place. And you do what you can to be a part of AI because it's exciting. You got to manage yourself through it. That's the hard work. I've worked with so many people that are like, but so I want to change that. You can try. You'll be banging up against that rock for years. If that's the endeavor you want to go for, great. But I'm telling you, it's not going to be something that happens. People change when they're ready and willing, and that's on them. What you need to do is work with your mindset. Always come back to you, because then you can influence in a positive way. May not be what you wanted to hear, but truth. Nuggets. Yes. Thank you. Next. Oh, this way, that way. Which way do I go? Okay, over here.
You talked about reframing,
Yes.
and a lot of the reframing we talked about, if a girlfriend's talking to me, I'm like, oh, you were chosen for this. Of course you deserve this promotion. But when it comes to yourself, somehow the mental barriers come in, and you don't say the same things to yourself, even though you're clearly telling other people. So the whole fear, and in a work environment, it feels way too high risk, right? Those non-real events or whatever, you're just like, oh my God, but it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Do you have examples of maybe smaller actions you can take to start sort of practicing and getting more comfortable before taking on one of those, the big conversation with your boss or going up 1-over-1 or whatever that is?
Yeah. So literally, the reason why I found into the research and working with women is so hard for us is that, one, we brush off the feeling. We're not able to register that, oh shit, I'm scared. I feel really vulnerable right now. I feel like I might lose my job. You have to be able to dip into the feeling first before then you can bring out what I call your inner champion to be like, and I can move forward. It's like when you tell, I have 3 kids, so I'm very practiced in this. It's when you say, what's the big deal? Get up, move on. But they're still tantruming. And guess what? It's the same for us. If we're not registering that this is hard, this feels scary, and in whatever form that takes, talking to somebody, writing, for me, writing works, then I can move to, okay, let me talk to somebody who's had a difficult conversation before and ask them how they did it. Do you see what I'm saying? So those are the steps you need to take by first registering what it's eliciting in you by way of emotion. Yeah.
Thank you so much for the talk.
You're welcome.
When you were calling out the 6 mindsets, I'm like, check all of them.
You're in all of them.
I think that right now, standing here. But one of the central themes that I've noticed in the conference have been advocacy and building a community.
Yes.
And so I have kind of a 2-part question. One is, what kind of people do you personally think about sort of collecting as a team of advocates for yourself? And the other is, how do you sort of show up and build that community organically?
Because I want to make sure that I'm doing that for other people too.
I love that. First of all, kudos for asking the question. If you're nervous, it doesn't show. So thanks for taking that step. So in this point of my life, what I look for in building a tribe of advocates is people that will give me oppositional views. I know what, I've done the entrepreneur thing, I've done the thinking thing. I want somebody that's gonna be in a different field, that's gonna be like, hey, this has been my experience, here's what I learned from it. I'll be like, oh wow, I never looked at it that way. I'm looking for that oppositional thinking on purpose. Because I'm in my head, I'm surrounded by colleagues already that think similarly to me, so that's what I'm intentionally curating. And so think about where you are and what you need to be able to bring and look for those people. Now, how you do it organically is literally be like, wow, I saw you at a conference. I love what you had to say. I'm wondering if we could have some coffee, or I'd love to chat about your experience. That's the organic stuff. That so many people just turn to like, ding, I'm gonna LinkedIn you, I'm gonna DM you. Doesn't go as far as literally coming up to somebody and be like, I really admired what you said. I loved your career. Can we talk more about that? Sit down on big wall. Relationship currency. That's where it's at.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Okay. Last question.
Sure. So first of all, thank you so much for such a great talk. My question is kind of a follow-up question of one of the previous ones. So you mentioned how you decided to write a book, your first one, right? Somebody told you that I think you have all the experiences as a mother and you can write a book on it. So my follow-up question is that I'm sure it would have taken you like a huge shift in your mindset to actually sit and write a book. So it would be great if you could share some, like some of your experiences. How did you make that discipline in your life? How did you change that mindset to actually write a book?
I love that question. So let's get under the hood of how I did that first book. So literally, I know myself, and that, what you probably jumps out at you is like self-awareness, right? That is from that place. What I know to be true for me is like if somebody challenges me, and I'm not saying that colleague did, but when I came out on the other side of entrepreneurship, and I remember this very distinctly. I sat at dinner with like, at the time I was married, so we were at a couple's dinner, and I'm like, what are you gonna do? You're free, you're la la la. I was like, I'm gonna write a book, and they're like, oh. Like you saw the thought level, that's cute. You're gonna write a book. I just registered that for myself because I love a challenge. And whether that was direct or not, I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna write that book. Because it works for me. And so that mindset was like, if I face any type of like somebody that's like, sure, right, I'm gonna be like, let me show you, and then some. Now I don't do it for that reason. It's purely in doing it that I found that I love it. So it's a win-win, but that's what really spurred me on. Sometimes you need that fire from somebody to be like, I'm gonna doubt you, to be like, let me show you. Yeah. Does that answer?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, what was it that made you make the decision to go over your boss's boss, and what framework did you use in your approach, and how you discussed whatever it was you were having at that conversation?
Yeah, so it was really in sitting with the mentor who was like, you gotta have the conversation. And I, at the time, like I was late 20s, early 30s, and I was like, you know what, I felt like I used all my resources in sharing it with her as best as I could. So I sat with it and said, I'm taking a risk. I know that this micromanaging experience is not just me. My intention is to share with her boss the culture that she's creating, less about me. Just like how she moves about and how she interacts with people is not conducive of a person that manages culture. So it was in that made me have more guts to say, okay, this is how I'm gonna say it. I practice it a lot. I put on my big girl pants for real, sat in her office, and I said, okay, I just want to share something with you. Here's my experience so far. Do with it what you will, but I know other people have had this experience too. And that manager above her was mature enough to not just be, trust me, because she was her favorite at the time. So I was taking a huge risk. And I was okay with being let go. Right? You have to be okay with the trade-offs. If you're gonna take a risk, know that there's an action that could happen from that risk. So be okay with it. And I was like, if I get fired, then I can do what I really want and be free from it. So that gave me more juice to be like, let me tell you what it's like for a lot of people outside of me. Yeah. Ta-da, bye!